Hey, y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is Joe and Jay Outspoken. Thanks for coming back and joining us this week if you've been here before. And you can find all of our platforms by going to Linktree/Joe and Jay Outspoken.
Yes, you can.
All right.
You absolutely can. Good job. Thank you. Thank you for that information.
That's all we needed.
Thank you. Now we're going.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the new LGBTQ community here.
Plus, you forgot the plus.
Plus IA. What's the IA stand for? You know?
Is there an IA now?
Yeah.
Intellectual absence, I believe. That is.
Wow.
Just kidding.
All right. Well,
but am I?
Let's get this going. We're gonna totally get canceled for this one.
Just kidding, guys. We love you.
Yeah, love you all.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
All right, everybody, welcome back. And here we go. We're going to get into this right now. And what are we going to start off with, Joe?
All right. So
I don't want to be the standard bearer for this.
All right, let's do this. Well, this is what kind of triggered. I hate using the word triggered. It's like a lefty term, but this is what kind of got me to start thinking about what is going on with the LGBTQ community, right? Plus IA, and it amazes me because, and I'm not even talking about, because right now I feel like there is a rebel group, a rebel alliance, if you will, a group that
must smash the alliance,
a group that's coming off the old school LGBTQ, and they're called the transgenders.
Oh yeah,
right. And they are just losing their mind. They're out of control. So I was online. Just reading news because I don't like watching TV as much the news anymore.
Cut your cable.
Yeah.
Trust us.
So there's an online.
It will open your mind.
It will, and close your pocketbook.
Yeah, right.
There was an online article by The Conversation, by a lecturer from Ohio State University, but that goes by the name Rhea Debussy, Dorian Rhea Debussy, and she states that the LGBTQ plus IA, is that right? Community
plus
specifically transgender is being discriminated against, right? And I'm thinking, do you watch anything? I'm like, so it's hard, I guess. When you're like, for example, we're seeing all these problems with the border, right? And people are complaining. Mexico's getting tired of it, right? Because they're complaining of Mexico, like, you guys are giving us bean burritos again. Like be lucky you're eating, right? And
I like bean burritos.
I do too. And
what are you complaining about?
But they're coming in here waving the Venezuelan flag, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you really want empathy from us when you're waving a flag that's not our flag?
Right.
So it's kind of like the same thing with transgender. They're coming in here, crying murder on stuff that we really don't believe in, and they're trying to force feed us into it and strong arm us into believing it or believing their views or anything like that. But the moment that we try to hey, Jesus loves you, it's like blasphemy to them. They're
right.
ready to kill
you.
you,
Can't do that.
Right? So it's like you can't win. So so that article, and it really started. I started thinking about it. I'm like, all right, before I get into this article, let me figure out who this Dorian is, right? So she lectures in women's gender and sexuality. So just keep this in mind. Close your eyes as I tell you these truths, right? She lectures in women's gender and sexuality, does inclusive teaching. I don't know what that means, but I read that somewhere. She taught queer study courses at Kenyon College, member of the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, WPATH. I didn't even know there are things that exist. Yeah. She's the lead author of Freedom to Serve, the definitive guide to LGBTQ military service. Advanced copy was requested by the Biden administration in 2020, right? Crazy, huh?
Curious.
But back in March 2020, she identified as they, them. right? Since then, in her LinkedIn, she identifies as she, her.
Curious.
But here's the crazy thing. She identifies as, so there's too many identifications going on here, so I'm confused. She's a trans feminine, which means she's a trans woman, which means she was a man. But Ohio,
a man that identifies as a female, right?
But Ohio State has her as a lecturer on women's gender and sexuality.
Yeah, ladies, how do you like that? A guy is now telling you how to think, and they're going to lecture to you.
So that's where. So after I read all that about this person who wrote this article, I'm like, out the window, out the door. I'm not even going to listen to your craziness anymore about this whole being discriminated against in the workplace.
Well, no.
But then I'm thinking, okay, let's dive in to see what they're talking about, right? So what would you? So let's go back. Everyone feels, even there's clearly laws out there. You know, they have the ADA laws now. They have all kinds of laws against any type of discrimination, whether by race, color, religion, things like that. Handicaps, things like that in the workplace, right? And that's important. Clearly, there's some jobs that if you do have a handicap, you really can't work there, right? You can't be a police officer, and you can't be mobile. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah. If you're bound to a wheelchair, you're not going to be able to be a police officer
or a fireman or things like that.
Yeah.
But can you work?
That's pretty obvious.
But can you work in a police station? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be a dispatcher. You could work records. You could do all kinds of things. But as a police officer, there's certain certifications. Fire department. Firemen have certain certifications. They got to run up and down stairs with a hose. There's a lot of things that is gonna, and it's not really discrimination, but they are demands of the job, and you have to meet those qualifications, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we've had these for years, right? The LGBT community at one point did argue that there was discrimination, and it wasn't so much the workplace, but the benefits provided at the workplace. Right. And that was like when gay marriages were allowed, they wanted health benefits for their spouses and things like that, which I understood. I'm like, yeah, everyone understood. It wasn't even a big deal. Right. Everybody's like, all right.
They were trying to get the same treatment that a heterosexual couple would get once married, that the workplace or the state or the government or whatever would provide for them, that they wouldn't get provided because they were a same-sex couple, right? And they could, before they could even get married, this is, if you go back far enough, and then when they could get married, it still wasn't certain things. So yeah, they fought for total equality
absolutely
in that whole thing. And I don't think most of us don't have any issues with that at all, having full equality in that. Something to step back on and keep your thought. You were mentioning the folks coming over across the border with different flags,
we call them illegal aliens.
Coming with like Nicaragua flags or whatever and waving those. Well, here's the thing. The Rockefeller Center here in the United States, where that whole thing is at.
New York City.
So there's a flag for Nicaragua there, right? And do you think that they would put up, all Nicaraguan flags and take down the rest of them? No, they wouldn't do that. Or for any other country. But you know what they did do? They took down every country's flag and they put LGBTQIA plus flags up. All of them took all the country's flags down. So for those folks in that community,
the White House waved took the American flags that you normally put out for 4th of July and put the pride flag out. Pride flag. It's not an LGBTQ. It's a pride flag.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
So if you think that you're being discriminated against, there's no way. So, I mean, we're big 2A advocates, right? And for those of you that don't know what the 2A is, we're not going to tell you. Look it up. If you don't know that, you really need to study some constitutional law and stuff like that. So anyhow, what if that was hung up? Something that was like an NRA flag or something like that hung on the White House. People would lose their minds. Right?
Oh, don't tread on me. Imagine that flag hanging.
Don't tread on me. Yeah, the Gadsden
you
flag.
are racist.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
All that
people
kind of
would lose
stuff.
their mind.
But the thing is, I wouldn't want that hung on the White House. You know what needs to be hung on the White House?
The American flag.
The American flag. That is it. All right. So it's cool. You want to hang your flag up.
But there's laws,
at your house?
Jay. There's laws. Like our flag does not does not bend over lower than any other flag.
Lower than any other
right?
flag. No.
That's why when you see when we do the national anthem in sports events, they have all the other flags are tipped down, and the American flag's always standing erect. There's laws.
Erect.
I did. Y'all know what I mean by that, right?
Beavis and Butthead moment right there. So yeah, in a state, right? In a state capital, what do you have? The U.S. flag is at the top, and the state flag is directly below that, right? Yeah, and that's the way it should be. You know, there should be respect for your country, and people that come from other countries, I get it. You're proud of your country and everything. However, if you're running from that country,
why waving your flag? Go back to that country.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that
it's so terrible here. I don't know why you're coming.
We're horrible. But here's and you're absolutely right. So my thought back then when that happened in the workplace, I'm like, hey, go. You know what you do, how you get married, and I'll be honest. The only ones who really had a problem with that were the evangelists, the ones that like the Crystal Cathedral, all the ones that are millionaire pastors from people's money that are hypocrites, right? Those were the only ones. Yeah. Those were the only ones that hooted and hollered, right, about it, right? If we start talking about Christianity, things like that, yes, it's against the laws of Christianity, things like that. But again, to each their own. I'm not going to go over there and say, oh, you sinned, you're going to, whatever. Right. That's not my job. Here's the thing that I loved about my LGBTQ friends was that they were private about. No one wants to know about what you do behind closed doors. Right. They kept it in the closet. If you were gay, they were gay. Then there was nothing wrong with it. People were we had parties and we had friends. Yeah. We still do. And we're at parties and things like that. And it wasn't like, oh, that's the gay group, or those are everybody hung out together. Everybody did what they want. It was like a normal thing. But when you start, could you imagine us sitting there as just straight men and talking about the sexual things we do in our bedroom, just in a group, that make anyone uncomfortable. Yeah, that's not
appropriate, no matter what sexuality.
And that is right, and that is the argument that we have. So back then, that was understandable,
especially in front of children.
Don't even get me started about that. So that's understandable about having those type of demands. But now that you have this crazy group within the LGBTQ, these transgenders who have lost their mind. And this is why I feel safe saying these things. One, because all these gay friends that we have, or that we follow, or that we know about, they all say the same thing. Yeah. These guys are out of control. Yeah, they are out of control. We
don't want to even be included in that group. That's what they will say.
And they'll tell you that straight from the get-go. And here's the thing, transgenders don't care. They're like off on their own now. And you can always tell, right? Because they always got the crazy colored hair. They got the, it's always, they always have this, I hate to stereotype guys. They have like the same look all the time. But so what's happening right now in people are getting tired of this. Right? Yeah. And so people are getting, everyone from both sides, guy from the left, from the right, the middle, the top, the wig party, the everybody's getting tired.
You took it way back.
I took it way back. So everyone's getting tired of this. And so what's happening now, you're seeing in a lot of these states, new bills being introduced and laws passed that are anti-trans. Well, that's what they're calling it, anti-trans. But what they are is they're laws that prevent children from being damaged mentally, physically, from these crazy health damage things that comes from that gender dysphoria, right? They're like, no, we're not going to, it's 16, 12, 13, 4. That's too young. Let's focus on the core. The core problem isn't that, I'm a woman stuck in a man's body. That's not the problem. The problem is I got some mental issues I need to fix. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about that before we do anything else. Right. Like there was a time back, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a time like if let's say you and I were married. Hey, let's say you and I were married, right? And we were getting a divorce.
Oh, I get the guns.
And that's so unfair.
There's no kids.
That's so unfair.
There's no kids. I get the guns.
So we're getting divorced.
You're taking the motorcycles.
That's right. What is the first thing that family court does. Nope, you guys are going to counseling first and see if you can work this out.
Right.
Because we don't want you to get divorced. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time there was a major surgery going on in your life, you go into a counseling. You're going to talk about it.
Before you get married, you're supposed to go to counseling before you get married. Yeah.
So why is it so easy that when a kid says, "Hey, I'm, yes, my name is Bobby, but I want to be Roberta and I want to be a woman." You're 8 years old,
right?
And the doctors are like this, like, "Oh, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. We'll put you on these pills and blah blah blah." Like no questions asked. No. There would be
because they don't make any money when they do any of that kind of stuff.
But there was a point when we cared so much about our children where it's like, hey, let's get you to talk to someone before we make that big leap. Right? Not anymore. Not anymore. It's like, oh, you want that chopped up?
Just jump off the hill.
It's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And once those things are done, it's really, it's pretty much irreversible. I mean,
I don't know about that. You remember Lorena Bobbitt? That dude got a whole new anatomy, bro. Bigger and better.
Bigger and better. Yeah, it's this whole thing is completely disturbing that that it's being normalized right out in society, and
don't let it be. Don't let it get normalized, guys.
Don't let it be. And the thing is I feel really bad for people that have this gender dysphoria, and they're having to deal with it. Like it really sucks. Here's one of the things, people love to throw around, especially in politics and stuff today, all the stuff with Hitler, right?
Oh, God.
And it's like, if I lived in that day.
I feel bad for y'all.
If I lived in that day and age and I was a German, I would have never fallen for his nonsense and all that kind of stuff. There was so much propaganda that was, shot out at that time. And I mean, people were turning in their neighbors, and they were being, really, they're being horrible to one another because of the propaganda that was, done by the government.
Oh yeah.
And they really pushed that entire, thing. And it's the same thing that's happening now. All right. You mentioned this in one of our last episodes, and we'll put all the numbers up here. So the greatest generation, then the baby boomers, and then the what were we? Gen X, and then millennials, and what is it? Gen Z now, and then there's the newer one. I don't even know what it is, the alpha generation or whatever. So if you go all the way back to like the greatest generation, it was less than 1% identified as anything in the LGBTQIA plus alphabet
elemental
soup. They less than 1% as just gay or anything, right? And then and you would say, well, it's because of the way they were raised. Well, think about that for a second. How were they raised? Why wouldn't they have? I mean, they had the same freedoms as we do now, right? So then you get to the baby boomer generation, and that went up to a little bit higher, but not much higher.
Yeah,
and then you get to our generation, and it's not a whole lot higher. There's a little bit more, but it's like, all of a sudden, when you hit Gen Z,
it's like 40% now.
It's identify like almost half of the populace is confused on their gender.
That is crazy. That's a mental health issue.
Big mental health issue.
And I personally feel it started before COVID, but I think COVID amplified it because you're isolated. You were isolated at home. Kids didn't know what to do, so they got on YouTube's and all those other social media platforms, and they're looking at all these people talking about it, and like, oh my God, they make like Devane. What's that his name? The Bud Light guy.
Oh, Devaney. I can't remember.
Him. They see people,
irrelevant.
They see people like that, and they're like, "Oh my God, they're getting popular. Maybe it's me. Maybe that's my problem." But no one's talking to his children to find out what is the core problem. And it's not that you have gender dysphoria because that's what's been implanted in your head, but it's because you have some other underlying issues, right? And of course, the transgender community is going to say, "Oh, it's gender dysphoria." Pretty soon, when they have races, it's going to be on there. Transgender is going to be a race. It's going to be scary. But so here are the things in reading and looking into this Rhea individual, trans, feminine, he, she, be, her, they. In this article,
I'm glad you had to say that,
bro. I can't remember. There's so many. I just can't. Anyway, what it boils down to, it's again, the discrimination falls again under the healthcare stuff, right? And do you remember that episode we did a long time ago about that agency that gives you points for state agencies, for communities, based on how much LGBT stuff you have going on in there, right? And so now what they're doing is, so she's saying it's discrimination because the companies don't offer comprehensive transition related healthcare programs.
Yeah.
Right. So they want more friendly LGBTQ medical providers, right, for them, right, which includes, respondents said that they looked for two specific benefits: health insurance plans with coverage for gender affirming surgical treatments and financial assistance for gender affirming treatments. All those things are cosmetics. They've always been, right? Getting your teeth white is cosmetic, right? All these things, but they wanted to be included as part of it. Like, why should we pay for you getting a sex change?
Right.
I mean, that's a personal cosmetic thing. If there's nothing wrong with your ding-a-ling, we're not taking it off.
Right.
Right. I mean, that because you mentally have an issue by looking down and saying like, oh my God, I got ding-a-ling, I got to take that off because I'm not feeling like a woman. Well, guess what? If you take that off, you're still not a woman. You're still not going to be able to reproduce a child. Right. So what, don't look at it, Go to live somewhere where it's cold and it's always inny, and then just sit down and pee. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's the same effect, but
it's the same effect. You get the same splashback.
Michigan was cold. I'm not going to lie. So there was a time where I thought maybe I'm one.
Well, the sad thing is that with medical stuff like that, if we're going to be giving any kind of treatments to anybody, it should be
mental health.
Well, yeah, mental health. But if we're going to be doing operation type stuff and helping people out medically, I mean, it should be, folks that have.
Oh, sorry.
Bigger legs. I don't know.
Longer legs. Please, baby Jesus.
They don't actually make your legs any longer. They just give you really big knees. So
that is horrible.
You look like an ostrich walking down
the
guy. So, somebody that's like burned in the fire really bad and they need reconstruction, or, a big one. And I've seen a lot of advertisements for it lately is stuff to fix people's teeth. Like some people have like their teeth are really messed up and it's something that in society people, it's just a,
but if it's a med, and I feel cold-heartedly about this, Jay, if it's a medical procedure that needs because it impacts them, yes,
right,
not a cosmetic.
No, because like, if you want bigger, like some, these girls want all these butt and boob implants and things like that.
Oh, well, we could talk about some of these things. I'm not saying everything's out of the table. I mean, you get crazy sometimes, Jay.
Yeah,
you go way out
left field, right? No, but those things, so should we start saying, well, she identifies as she wants a bigger butt. Should she be able to get one on the state's dime or whatever, and we're supposed to pay for it? No, absolutely not. And, I agree 100% with you. All these cosmetic things, what I was trying to say was stuff that affects people, that like, again, somebody got burned or something. There's 100 different things that could go on. They ended up losing an arm or something like that from an accident or something. And we say, hey, we want to help this person out financially, to help them get a, one of those,
well, if it happened at their job, then they got the workman's comp that's going to cover it,
Yeah. But and all that. And exactly. See, that's an accident that happened at your job. The job's going to pay.
I'm all for like, hey, improve it, because I know like most workman's comp, it'd be minimal. Let's say you lose a hand, they'll give you like a little hook, right?
Right.
The clasp, like, hey man, he came in here with a full set of hand and 5 fingers. Try to duplicate that, right? More like, I'm for that. Don't go for the cheapest route. Go for hey, make it equal. I'm like, I get that. That I'm 100%, especially if it happened at work, right? But for something like that, I mean, like that's what you're calling discrimination at the workplace, because they don't give you the benefits that you want. Right. I mean, because of how you feel about yourself. That's ridiculous.
Then we just talked about it. Then so So let's say a girl wants to go get a boob job.
Here we go.
Right?
You keep talking about the wrong topic. Man. I'll let you go with this one. Go ahead.
But no, and she wants to do it. Is her insurance going to pay for it 100%? Is the job going to authorize that? And then what is that medical time off? Well, it's not.
Mm-mm.
That becomes vacation time,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Well, why? She wants, to. So there's a reason for it, because it's cosmetic. It's not a medical thing. You don't need to do it. Now, see, here's the little caveat with that. If somebody had like cancer or something like that, and they need reconstruction,
yes,
that's a whole,
I'm all for that.
That's a whole different thing right there. So
now people are going to here. Let's do the flip side of that. People are going to say the same thing. Well, if we're going to do it for someone that had cancer, the cancer got removed. Well, she had to lose a breast, but why do we have to put it back? Right? It's cosmetic at this point because they took the cancer out. So
before the cancer, she walked in with a full set of boobs.
Right. So
it's just like the hand getting chopped
But here's
off,
where the transgender are going to come and say, well, without the surgery, my mental health, I don't feel like I'm able to work, and then I should have workman's comp because you guys are not providing. There's going to you have to have the good with the bad, right? So I think the core or the root cause right there is the mental health aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Let's provide better mental health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that routine mental health where you get 3 visits per year and you're good. 3 visits ain't gonna help nobody. Right. But a more comprehensive mental health from companies, I think would be much better. Yeah. So where, hey, you clearly have an issue. There's gender dysphoria wasn't even a thing. Right. And there's clearly underlining issues with that individual.
Well,
and then think about it. We were locked down.
That's being taught in our society 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Pushes. It's an agenda being taught, just like Hitler's agenda, just like all the rest of the agendas that have been throughout history and time.
The immigration agenda that's being taught, right?
Everything.
There's always, people need to look and understand that hey, these I'm gonna be honest, man. These politicians, they're not about human rights and equality and let's do better for the community. They're about filling in pockets, right? Yeah. And how do you fill those pockets? By staying in power. How do you stay in power? By those votes. How do you get those votes? By getting people to like you, right? It's like school. Like, hey, you get the most popular kid, right?
Here's a free button.
Yeah. And so when that's not working, what do? You bring in illegal immigrants and you say, hey, we're going to allow them to vote because, their vote's important because they're living here in the state, they're winning votes. They're gaining votes, right? Yeah. And of course, it's illegal, but they're passing laws to make it legal. There's some states that are trying, So the problem here is that we are not really impacting. We're not directly aiming at what the root cause is here. Is it a transgender issue or is it a mental health issue? It's a mental health issue. Yeah, and 100%. We've said this almost in every episode we do. We talk about mental health, and I think it's something that we have allowed to get out of control. Mm-hmm. We've shut down every mental institution in the U.S. Right. There's none really. Right. The prison system's mental health services are horrible. Right. It's just a routine, and mostly everyone, if not, I believe everyone, is medicated. Right? They don't want to deal with this. It's the first thing is like, oh, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And what do? They sell that. They sell those drugs in prison. Trust me, I know these things. So what we're just left it on the wayside. We're like, mental health, figure it out. Right? But what is happening? Every year you hear more and more and more about issues that are happening. So either it's they unalive themselves or they just commit some crazy crimes or whatever the case is. It's just happening more and more. Just take a moment to review any kind of activity that's happening that involves transgender and just look at their behavior. Just look at the behavior and tell me if that's a behavior of someone that has a good head on their shoulders, that's normal, that's thinking straight, and then come back and tell me, no, there was something wrong with that person. Right. I can guarantee you're not going to see this and say, oh no, that's a normal reaction. No, it's not. It is not. I mean, they are hateful. They're so, and I'm not talking about all of the transgender community. Right. No, but the majority of them cannot have a decent conversation with you. They won't. They refuse to. And the moment they hear something that they definitely don't like, you're gone. Be gone. You know
and
what I mean?
And it's sad because there is a few, I've seen them out there on videos and such, and they're talking and they're really anti all the stuff with children, and indoctrinating kids and everything. And they're like, guys, we need to stop this and not be involved in all this stuff, because this is where we're getting the slap back, in our community, is because of this. People don't want their kids exposed to. So forget about it being transgender or gay or any part of the LGBT blah 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 community. If you have straight people, right, that are being sexually perverted, completely heterosexual people, male, female, completely perverted, out in the streets around kids. Imagine somewhere like Disneyland or something like that. There's a bunch of kids around and they're gonna, be naked in the park or whatever. Nobody would stand for that. They'd go crazy over that, right? So there's no difference, but the thing is there's all these protections, right? And this in society. In fact, Joe and I were talking about this. I forget where we were driving to, and we were talking about
to a gun store,
probably to a store, and we were talking about that all of these new rules and everything that are basically little shields around folks in the rainbow community. It has given them the green light to go ahead and do whatever they want, because if you go against it, like, it's going to sound like we are, then it's like you're transphobic, you're bigoted, you're this and that. And that's not the case. All right. The thing is that, again, like the demonstration I gave with heterosexual versus, somebody that's gay or trans or what have you, you're not going to, nobody wants their kids exposed to, pornography and dirty stuff between two consenting adults,
True.
And so that's what the problem is. And the big problem is that if you had two straight people that went and did stuff in the middle of the streets or in the White House, right? Oh my gosh.
I've never been embarrassed about the White House and this administration.
This administration is that's a whole different episode, folks.
So kind of in what you're talking about right now is the point that is very important right now. So, oh my God, I just sounded like Kamala Harris.
Did you do a circle?
Yeah.
The thing that's important is the important part of this importance.
Yeah. I just did that. Anyway, so for example,
no offense, Kamala, but I hope you're offended.
So you have all these
offended by our offensive
offenses that we happen to be offending people. So you have all these problems going on in outside of your home, right? Whatever the cases are, and then you have your family. Your priority is that your family at the moment. That's your priority. I care less what's going on outside of my home. As long as in my home, I'm protected.
Right.
And I feel strongly about these. When people say like, well, you're just, transphobic or you're immigration phobic or whatever the thing is, it's like, I look at it so I look at the U.S. as my home, right? And I'm trying to protect it from from everything that could hurt or harm it. Right. So immigration, as much as I believe in immigration, I really do. The correct way to migrate.
Right.
I believe in it. The birds have learned to do it correctly. Why can't other nations do it? It's not that hard. But here's the thing. Everyone on the left is arguing that they're seeking asylum, right? These countries that they're coming from, with the exception of maybe one, there's nothing going on over there. They're not being persecuted. They're not being, removed from existence because of their religious belief, political belief, or anything like that. They want opportunity, which is great, right? America's the land of opportunity. However, that opportunity should fall to American citizens first. Right. And then everyone else secondary.
Well, then American citizens first, and then people that are legally coming into the system,
naturalized citizens or things like that, or people that are
absolutely.
Well, I can't even say that because naturalized citizens are citizens, so they have the first right, and then the other ones are the ones that have work visas, right? They should have second dibs on it, right? And we all know that most people that are born here, live here, ain't gonna go working in the fields. So the migrants are not taking no one's jobs. You know, we know that. But when you keep feeding us all this stuff, we're gonna fight back with the only people know how to, is try to hurt people's feelings, right? But that's the whole thing, and that's what I feel like we're doing now with the transgender community. Man, my mom's hairdresser was transgender, right? During the day, it was like Superman. During the day, a man cutting hair. At night, a woman, right? He was cool. I used to call him Mom, you know, and I called him Mom when he worked at the hair salon. He's all, shut up, stupid. I can't call me Mom here. I'm like, Dad? I don't know what to call you, you know,
Daddy.
Yeah, Poppy, you know. But you know, in the streets, when you dress like a woman, I called him Mom. You know, cool as heck.
Yeah,
you know, good fighter. He protected me one time. You know, he's a good fighter. But I had no issues. I have absolutely zero issues. But here's the thing that he did not do. He didn't care if I said if it slipped or whatever.
Right.
He did not care that people made fun. He just he wouldn't throw it in your face. He wouldn't do any of that stuff. You know, he wasn't fighting for it because no one messed with him.
Well, here's the thing, Joe. So you're kind of straight, right?
A little bit.
So you're straight. You're Christian. You're male.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Has anybody ever made fun of you for any reason?
My height.
And
but other than that, no.
So should we make legal laws and things around that people can't make fun of people because of their height?
Yes. No, I mean, come on, man. It's funny because people ask me, like, did you get bothered with people making short jokes? I'm like, bro, it's not like I just shrank. I've been short all my life. Like, I was 14 and I hit my height. That was it.
That was it.
I wasn't growing anymore.
You know, like the basketball hoop wasn't getting any closer. It just was.
you know you're short when you have to sit your kids down so you can yell at them. You know what I mean? Like, sit down.
Your boys are tall, man.
Yeah. I got my daughter though. I'm like, what's up? Yeah, you're cute.
So I've been made fun of, and you know what? Here's another one of the things, and we kind of had a little bit of a discussion about this too. Kids need to be made fun of a little bit when they're young.
It makes you strong.
It's crazy that we want to create this
safety bubble.
Oh man, this society that nobody ever like fights, nobody ever, you know, and I don't want kids getting in fights. I don't want kids being made fun of, but it's going to happen on a schoolyard. It's just the way things are. And in the workplace, people do this kind of stuff. Now, again, I don't want people discriminated against or anything like that in the workplace either, but you're going to have people telling jokes and stuff like that. And the fact that people are so sensitive is one of the problems that has really hit this country. We have created this mushy, overly sensitive, protective society. Yeah, an overly protective society. And the thing is we are creating weak individuals. We really are.
Yeah.
And so now what do they do when, and again, protecting all these folks, for example, like in California with the whole thing. So why are businesses leaving California?
Because they're getting robbed
left and right because
in and out, bro. It's that unheard of. They've never closed a location, and they're shutting the one in Oakland down.
They've never closed a location down ever. And they're shutting the one down in Oakland because they're getting
liberal policies.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can't make a rule in the law that, well, anything under 900 was $950.
900 something. Yeah, something 50.
They can just walk away. They don't get in trouble at all. You can't do that and expect businesses to stay. And now in some of those cities and everything, they're crying racism, saying that these companies like that was
a senator saying because Walgreens had to shut down because of all the theft. And you've seen the videos where they have everything behind plastic.
Yeah,
and people are there they walk in there with a torch burning it to open it. I mean, they're saying that's racist and that Walgreens is racist for removing those stores. I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't have to take that loss. They do.
Right.
So why stay in a place that it's like, hey, I'm going to live in this community, but every week you're getting robbed. Are you going to stay there?
No.
But of course you have a black senator complaining about this who lives in a gated community in a multi-million-dollar home probably, right? Saying, oh, they're racist. Why don't you move back in the hood and tell me if you would keep a business open,
right?
Getting robbed every day.
And the
sad thing is, you're right. You know what happens to these communities? So Oakland back in the days, back when the riots and stuff, horrible place, right? And Oakland has been developing and growing, and it's become such a great community, you know. And then now you got this governor passing these ridiculous laws and more, and now crime has risen.
Yeah,
right.
Crazy how that
unfund
happens.
the police, and all these people lost money and blah blah blah, and now crime has increased. The businesses are leaving. What do you think is going to happen to those communities? You have empty buildings now. People are going to go in there. You got the homeless rate's going to go up. Jobs, people lose jobs. Now they're going to have to go outside of that community to find jobs. You know,
it costs them more to commute and everything.
There is financial devastation when things close.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to consider the laws you're passing, who it's impacting. Look how long it probably took Walgreens to close, right? Now think of all the mom and pop shops that have already closed because of that they can't survive around that.
Right, because they didn't have the big pocketbooks that, you know, a company like Walgreens
could take that hit.
Yeah,
right?
Could take the hit for a little bit longer because they had other stores to absorb the, you know, whatever their P&L was for that store. I'm sure it was horrible.
So,
you know?
and here's the thing. So going back to this transgender feeling discriminated against, you can't, like, I can't say, hey, I'm Mexican, and I notice that in our vending machine, we don't have like the Takis, we don't have the you know, the tamal flavor Doritos, we're missing the Tapatio packs. I feel discriminated against. Could we get those? Like, come on, bro.
They have ding dongs. That's all you need.
Bring
the ding dong flavored Twinkies.
Man, I'm gonna find those, and when I do, guys,
we have not found them. We're gonna do a
search for the ding dong Twinkies or the Twinkie ding dongs. Whatever,
I don't know.
We'll find them. But anyway, could you imagine me going there? It's like, hey, no, you know, or hey, you know what? I'm Mexican, and because I'm Mexican, my culture uses a lot of tattoos. I'd like for you guys to pay for my tattoos. You know what I mean? Like, how would that make sense, right?
Yeah, I have Aztec blood in me. I need Aztec tattoos.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, or you know, this is ridiculous. And because they refuse to do it or don't want to do it, or because it's not a medical necessity, I'm going to call them racist.
Well,
I mean, that doesn't make sense, bro. That just doesn't make sense.
So how about people that are Christian that have to have Sundays off?
Good luck with that. And that's based on seniority, right?
And we need a cross in every business that we're in. You know, that's never going to happen because.
No. But if I ask for a pride flag, I bet I'll get it next week. Yes or no? You laugh now, but is it true?
Yeah,
I'm not surprised you haven't put one here in our studio.
So the thing is, kind of going back a little bit on that whole deal with the, you know, in Oakland and all those places where all that stuff. So what does that have to do with the, you know, the LGBTQIA plus community? Well, because. I know I'm trying to rattle off these letters and
I'm just gonna say L to the third.
It keeps getting longer, you know. So those folks that are doing all the looting and all that kind of stuff, why is that happening? Well, that's happening because you have laws that are made, right, that encourage basically or don't punish people that are doing silly things, and it is protecting people when they're doing these things. So it's the same thing in these other any other community or anything like that we are creating law that is protecting people so they can do silly things, right? So we gotta step back from this and look and say, hey, when we make something better for one group or whatever. And that's another one of the things. And this always bugs me is the whole group thing. Cause you and I, or today we were actually talking about
guns.
So, well, we always talk about that, but we were talking about that survey that I had seen. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And on the survey, it says, are you white? Are you black? And then it says, are you Asian? And one of these, it says Filipino, that went through a bunch of them, like Thai, Chinese, Japanese, all this kind of stuff. And then it said, are you Pacific Islander? And it went through about 4 different things. And then, or do you identify as other or whatever? So the thing, is anybody with black skin? Anybody with black skin is just black. You're not African or Haitian or anything. You're just black. And then all white people, same thing. And you're white, right?
In my birth certificate, it says Caucasian.
Yeah, because they don't have anything for all the Latin countries, right? So you
white.
You're just put into the white group too. So they're not going to separate Germany or France or England or the Swedes or anything like that.
I'm more of a mocha.
A mocha,
yeah.
mocha white.
Mocha. That was crazy. Okay, so look, there's 2 updates on the LGBTQ. Here's the first one.
Oh boy,
LGBTQIA 2S+.
2S+.
So we all know what the LGBTQs.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and or gender expansive, queer, and or questioning, intersex, asexual, and two-spirit. So we got to throw the two-spirit in for the Native Americans. All right. So that's the two-spirit. I'm still stuck on the questioning. Like, I don't know. I'm still questioning. So here's the other one.
IA was what? Intersection?
Not intersection. Intersex.
Intersex.
I don't even know what that means. So the next acronym is, here we go. You ready for this one?
No.
LGBTQIP2SAA.
Wow.
I don't think we have enough time to, but here it goes. And that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, pansexual, two-spirit, asexual, and ally. What's ally?
I don't know. I like to cook, so does that make me pansexual? I don't know.
Wow, that is crazy. I don't know what ace say. Oh, this was a different one. Well, I don't even know that word. What is that?
What is it? Androgynous.
What is that? All right, guys, look, there's way too much stuff here I don't understand.
We're not going to unpack it in this episode.
Clearly, I mean, we're going to have our next episode is the acronyms of LGB and how many there is.
Yeah.
But it seems like they are, so right now, I think there's like 35, 36, 56, I don't know, gender types. And I think they're going to try to put them all in there. I think they're really going to try to put 56 letters in there. It's going to be the LGBTQRRSSPPTT
IA plus Z.
Look, man, I'm not making
XYZ.
fun of you guys, but I am making fun of you guys.
Yeah.
Let's just cut it down. I was so simple when it was just gay. It was just gay because at the end of the day, you're just gay. You really are. You're just
really
gay. You know what I mean?
And
like, I don't understand this
what's
guy.
wrong with that?
There's
like
nothing
just
wrong.
saying
I'm gay.
I'm gay.
But you're like, I'm non-binary transsexual. I'm like, what does that mean?
And I dress as a puppy.
I'd like, there's a trans woman who's lesbian. I'm like, bro, so you just brought it all the way back. You're basically a man who likes a girl. That's what you just did.
Yeah.
You brought it full circle back. I'm like, can we just skip the dresses and just be like, hey, look, we're cool. Just say, guys, let's make it easy. Things getting complex for me. All right. I'm done. Take it away, Jay.
All right. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I'm Jay, and that's Joe. And this has been Joe.
That's actually Joe and Jay.
Yeah, Joe and Jay Outspoken. These letters got me all confused. If you guys like this show, please comment, subscribe, do a thumbs up, all that kind of good stuff. It really helps the channel. We appreciate you guys. We've got some great comments and stuff. And thank you guys. We love you out there. And we're not trying to make fun of any specific group. We're just we got a lot of questions. And but
hey, look, man, if I make fun of my own race and his and everybody else's, then
we're
take
gonna
it
make
like
fun
the rest
of
of us.
you.
Yeah, you a target. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Still love you though.
Hey, listen, if there's a topic you would like to see us cover in the future, let us know at joeandjproductions.com/ideas. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Take care of one another.
Remember, do better, be better.
And as always,
God bless America. See you later.
See ya.